President, with the consent of the body, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 3968 under Committee Report number 12. This is the charter of the City of Carmona. So move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, the parliamentary status of the measure is that we are now in the period of interpellation. I now move that we resume the interpellation and recognize the sponsor of the measure, Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito, and to interpellate our Senate Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel.
Our distinguished colleague from the city of San Juan is the sponsor, Senator GB Ejercito. And to interpolate is Senator Coco Pimentel, our distinguished minority floor leader.
Yes, Mr. President, we're already ready. We're ready to answer the queries and the interpellation of the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are accommodating the request of the sponsor to, well, at least try to fast track the processing of this bill, Mr. President. Although, don't blame us for the lateness of the hour, Mr. President. Yes, and actually we are no longer in tip-top shape, Mr. President, for this task, but we will try our best, Mr. President. So, ano ba yung kahapon? I think yesterday, Mr. President, during the interpellation of Senator Gatchalian, we were able to establish the eligibility and qualification of the municipality of Carmona to be converted into a component city under RA 11683. Tama po ba yan, Mr. President?
Yes, that is correct, minority leader, Mr. President. Carmona now qualifies as a city under this new RA 11683 because looking back at history, Your Honor, Mr. President, is that when San Juan became a city before in Valenzuela, when Senator Win was also mayor, the requisites back then, the criteria was just 100 million for the income and 150,000 for population, and likewise 100 square kilometers. You have to meet 2 out of 3 of those criteria. But with the RA 1183, as long as the municipality reaches 400 million income, it with a 100,000, not less than 100,000 population, it can now be qualified to become a city, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Thank you for that clarification. Therefore, Carmona is actually now applying to be a city under Section 450 of RA 7160, last paragraph of subparagraph A, as amended by RA 11683. Yun po yun.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. President. Wala bang objection si Senator Tolentino sa certification ng PSA, Mr. President?
In fact, Senator Tol was one of those who wanted to be associated with this, being from Cavite, being from Tagaytay. Carmona is actually is a sister town, no, of Tagaytay, Your Honor. It's beside, it's contiguous, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And we have. Let's now go to the particular bill we're discussing, Mr. President. No, the details now of the bill. and I'm looking at what are we working on, Mr. President? Is it the House Bill number 3968, Mr. President?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
That is the draft that we will be working on. May we know first, Mr. President, because the committee report, I think, has committee amendments. What concepts, ideas, or parts of House Bill number 3968 will be touched by our Senate committee report proposed amendments, Mr. President? Kahit hindi na po basahin yung amendment, pero ano po yung parang topic po na i-amend po ng ating committee?
Well, there are some provisions that we feel that were not included in the House Bill, Your Honor, like inclusion of just briefly, City Public Order Safety Officer, which is a requisite, no? Yung that's what we call POSO, who maintains peace and order, but this is the civilian unit, Your Honor. The City Registry of Deeds Office. So those two, Your Honor, Mr. President, that were not included in the House bill that was forwarded to us, Mr. President.
Yes, I've gone over the committee report, Mr. President. So meron tayong ang Senado ay may idadagdag dito po sa House bill po na ito.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. Just that
Oh,
the two, the office and the department heads that will head those departments. So it's a public order and safety officer and the registry of deeds, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. President, ito po bang House bill na of course na-examine na rin ito ng committee natin. That's why may proposed amendments. Ito ba yung galing sa ibang batas na ginawa niyang parang template niya o modelo?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President. On the template is usually we use the cityhood bills template, no, from the House of Representatives, because more often than not, usually the House, the cityhood, the proposal for municipalities to be converted into cities usually emanates from the House, Your Honor. So it is just accordance to the template of the cityhood bills from the House of Representatives, which is being used since the 16th Congress, Your Honor.
So 16th Congress draft, Mr. President. Because for example, Mr. President, ano section yun sa police? Section 7, for example, Mr. President, jurisdiction of the city. It starts with the first paragraph na for police purposes, and then the territorial jurisdiction of the city for police purposes would extend over the territory of the city to cover the drainage area, the reservoir, conduit, canal, aqueduct, or pumping station. So may we know the rationale of this, Mr. President? And since this is the template used in the other cityhood charters or bills, ano pong feedback natin dun sa mga batas na yon? Meron na bang may dispute ba over this particular wording of Section 7, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. President, the provision is lifted on Section 7 from the subsection 5 of Section 458 of the Local Government Code of 1991, Your Honor.
458, 1992, CDP. So this comes from the code, Mr. President?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
And then there's this mention of in the second paragraph of section 7, city court, which I don't think is a term which is used nowadays, Mr. President. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is no court which can be called a city court, Mr. President.
Ano bang si municipal to? Sa city.
Hindi, bigyan mo ko ng section for the local government code. Or silipin nyo for
Municipal trial court, pag municipal.
private.
So, Mr. President, apparently it's called now, it's, should have been municipal trial court in cities, Your Honor.
No, I'm just pointing this out so that, kasi
It will
this
be
is,
corrected.
anong year ba yung 16th Congress, Mr. President? Ano bang year yun?
2013.
Oh, so 2013 to 2016. Yeah, if this was the template used, siguro 2022 na. And if it's if there are words or phrases na
Yeah.
inapplicable na, let's not carry them over.
That is correct, Your Honor.
If
That's
if possible, Mr. President.
Actually, Madam President, Your Honor, it's good that you're pointing this out so that the bill that in case we file this will be already more refined and all of these errors or terminology that are not applicable anymore, we can make amendments already.
And then same paragraph, Mr. President, referring to page 3, line 18, we still use the word misdemeanors. I don't think that's being used now in relation to criminal law at this particular time, Mr. President.
Yes, if you may want to introduce if you can correct, probably coming from a bar top natural, we will gladly.
Ipa-check na lang po din natin po sa ating staff na yung wording.
The term misdemeanor,
ayusin
you
natin.
know.
Apa. But I'm ready to be corrected, Mr. President. Kasi. And then, Mr. President, of course, we heard this bill at the committee level. And then, when a municipality converts into a city, yun na yung era or the national
Tax
tax
allotment.
allotment of the cities, of the existing cities, are expected to be affected because they have increased in number. So in our hearing, did the League of Cities, number one, appear in the hearing, and what was the position of the League of Cities or of any other existing city, Mr. President?
Unfortunately, Your Honor, Mr. President, we sent them invitations, but they did not send any representative, which is really unlikely. But actually, yesterday, during Senator Gatchalian's inters, I think that most of the concerns, usually of leagues, were propounded by our colleague yesterday. Especially, the concern will be how much will be how it will affect the other cities. Of course, if you add another city, they will eat into the pie of the whole of the whole league. Like for example, as far as I can remember, when San Juan became a city, we were only 81 cities back then in 2007. But now, Mr. President, I was surprised that we're already 147 cities at the moment. So, Senator Win yesterday asked about that, and I think you're concerned with the impact, not the different cities as far as the pie is shared, the share in the pie is concerned. And yesterday, I propounded that in Puerto Princesa, for example, it's only negative 0.91%. No? So almost It's very minimal, the impact. But the biggest or the maximum impact was in Vigan City, which had a negative 3.65% change in or a cut in their national tax allotment, Your Honor.
Madam
President.
President, I think Senator Gatchalian wants to
Mr. President,
contribute.
Yes,
with the permission of the two gentlemen, Mr. President.
Senator Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you. With the permission of two gentlemen, Mr. President, on the topic of the League of Cities of the Philippines, I had the same question in mind, Mr. President, and I took the liberty of reaching out to the League of Cities of the Philippines in order to get their official position. Because when I was going through the transcript of the lower house as well as the Senate hearings, it seems to be that the League of Cities was absent in both hearings. So I took the liberty of contacting them and asking for their official position. And they sent me a letter signed by the president of the League of Cities, Mayor Michael Rama of Cebu City. And let me just read parts of the letter, Mr. President, just to put into our records and to enrich the discussion. The League remains consistent with our principle to adhere to the rules and bases already set by the Local Government Code of 1991. Based on the data obtained by the League from the Bureau of Local Government Finance, allegedly, the average local generated income of the municipality of Carmona for 2020 and 2021 is 504 million pesos. Also, based on the recent census, it has 106,256 inhabitants. Given that the municipality of Carmona complies with the income and population requirements of conversion, I am confident that the LCP board will support the conversion of Carmona into a component city. When we convene the National Executive Board on March 2023, I will move for the adoption of this position, Mr. President. Well, Mr. President, the context of this is since it's already Christmas time and the League only meets a certain period, the board of the League meets only a certain period. The next meeting will be on March next year. But I was quite adamant in getting an official position of at least the president, no? So that we'll be enlightened what the president's position is. And it seems to me that the League is amenable to the conversion because Carmona complies with the new law, no, on conversion. And the League has taken a magnanimous position in the past as well. If you remember, Senator JV, were both mayors. There was the 16 controversial cities. Both me and Senator JV were fighting against that conversion because they were not compliant with the rules under the local government code. But after many flip-flopping, I think 3 or 4 times, the Supreme Court rendered a final judgment declaring the 16 municipalities cities. So even though the League of Cities took a contrary stance in the beginning, but since there was final judgment, the League of Cities respected the decision of the Supreme Court, thereby welcoming the 16 municipalities into the League of Cities after their conversion. So consistent with that philosophy, since this RA 116883 is already a law, the League is taking a position that as long as Carmona complies with the new law, then the League is supportive of the conversion. Just to share with the body and to enrich the discussion, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Win Gatchalian, for that. No, in fact, Mr. President, Madam President, Your Honor, when we were both mayors, we have to be honest with you, of cities, City of San Juan, City of Valenzuela, because we really work hard, Your Honor, to reach that criteria. Those, it was not very easy, no, to attain the income, the population. And to tell you the truth, most of the cities in the league don't really want new applicants or new cities because it will eat in their pie. But as what Senator Win has mentioned, the controversial 16, we were really against it, no? But in the end, since it was the Supreme Court already stepped in, so the league already also accepted them as well. So I'm happy. I'd like to thank, of course, the president, league president Mike Rama, for being magnanimous, no? Because Carmona already complied with the two out of the three criteria for cityhood, Your Honor, Madam President.
So thank you. I was just actually eliciting information on what we did, who we invited, who appeared, what did they say. So siguro we should learn from this lesson and encourage the League of Cities to participate. Encourage lang, invite po natin sila to participate. So this will be the first if ever, no, if Carmona becomes a city, this will be the first implementation of RA 11683, especially the paragraph D, subparagraph D, Mr. President, which reads, in order to minimize the effect of conversion, the newly converted cities shall, upon enactment of this act, bring the respective allotment derived from the national taxes as municipalities to the allotment of cities, provided that said portability shall be effective for a period of 3 years from conversion into cityhood. Tama po ba yun, Mr. President? First time, this will be the first application of this particular provision of law, of the new law?
Yes, Your Honor, this will be the first time that this will be applied to, because the Carmona will be the first beneficiary of RA 11683, Your Honor, Mr. President.
So how will this paragraph, which I just read, Mr. President, be implemented? So I have been informed that the projected NTA of Carmona as a municipality is 284 million pesos, Mr. President, more or less, as a municipality. So how will we now implement the paragraph I just read of RA 11683 in the case of Carmona when it becomes a component city? 284 ba yung ano natin? Number pinagsasabihin niyo. 68 pala. I correct my figure, 200, ano, tama ka ba yan? Sure ka na doon. 268 million more or less as a municipality, Mr. President.
Your Honor, so that to minimize the effect of the conversion, what the NPA as a municipality of Carmona, ito muna yung dadali niya, no? It will be applied to the next. So para hindi naman agad-agad, so it will not affect right away the share of the taxes of the League of Cities of the Philippines. Just to give you also to give you an information, the percent in increase, no, for NTA of Carmona will be 226%, but the total effect on the NTAs of kumbaga the share of the whole League of Cities of the Philippines will only be 0.22% yung magiging effect niya. So it will have low impact, but it will have a high on the leagues, but high impact on the Carmona, city of Carmona.
So if yes, if the municipality of Carmona becomes the component city of Carmona, its NTA as a municipality computed at 268 million will become how much as a component city, Mr. President? Yun yung 759.
Total. May total ba kayo?
Saan natin nakuha yan? Kahapon na yan.
5. What will be?
Hindi, diba 2023 projection yun?
Yes. Your Honor, Mr. President, the share as a city will now be 782.69 million, Your Honor.
782.
Estimate, this will be,
Ah,
this is estimated share of the city. When it becomes,
So tama po ba yung akin namang figure as a municipality, yung estimated niya? Kunyari it remains as a municipality next year, ano siya, 268 million? Tama.
somewhere like that,
Parang ganon.
268 million.
Oh,
Yes, Your
20.
Honor.
So,
That's correct.
kung i-minus natin si 268 kay ano, kay 782,
Five. It comes out about 542,
514.
514.
So for the benefit of the city of Carmona, di ba?
That is-
Yes, and then ang sinabi po natin yung effect sa kapwa niya mga cities is
0.22%.
0.22%. So hardly to be felt by the existing cities. Ganun ba 'yon?
That is correct, Your Honor, sir. But for the city of Carmona,
Yes, yeah,
it
yun na.
will have a big impact.
Correct.
But I think because of the large share, in the larger share of the pie, it will have only 0.22%.
Ito po ba mga city official potential city officials ng Carmona ang kasama po natin?
Yes, Your Honor, there's the Vice Mayor is
The
here,
Vice
and
Mayor is here. Oh, so,
the council, actually yesterday, Congressman Roy Loyola was here, and Mayor Dalia Loyola, Your Honor, Mr. President. If I may add, Mr. President, Madam President, Your Honor, the Municipality of Carmona has really performed very well, being an SGLG consistent awardee. And Mayor Dalia, no, who's a doctor, has very good programs really in the city. In fact, Sec Boying Rimulyan and Governor John Vic Rimulyan said that Mayor Dalia is really a very efficient public official. And in fact, pwede nga daw ito mag-Secretary of Health because she is a doctor and she's very, very, really a performer. So I think Carmona really deserves really to become a city because of the progress and the development it has reached at the moment, Your Honor.
If I may, I am witness to how Dr. Mayor now, Dalia Loyola, has really institutionalized her programs up to the barangay level. In fact, I can't recall the name. Perhaps a sponsor can mention this. She has a program that documents all the people she has helped, and she has people up to the Purok sitio level that knows all the needs of the people. In fact, while I was campaigning and she told me about that, she said that she would mentor me and teach me about how grassroots her program is. Perhaps the sponsor can answer what is the name of that program of the Loyolas, both Kong Roy and Mayor Dalia, on the mapping up to the Purok and sitio level. It was Mayor Dalia who told me about it. I can't recall the name. So I am witness to how they have institutionalized their programs. I'm very impressed with the Loyola couple. Just that intervention.
okay, so Mr. President, so at least andito sa harap ng ating mga potential city officials ng potential city of Carmona, na-establish na natin na qualified naman talaga, even if we use the new law. If we consult the League of the Cities, wala naman palang objection
Yes, Your
or any reklamo. So Gandaan na lang natin yung batas. Yun na lang. So pagdating sa substance, wala na po tayong problema ron. But this is the charter of a city and the product of the 19th Congress and of our body. So ayusin na lang natin yung batas kung meron po tayong napapansin. But just correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. President. No? So yung balik tayo sa Section 7, huwag na po kayong mag-alala kasi hindi na po ito tungkol sa cityhood ninyo. Ano na po ito? Pinapaganda na lang natin yung wording ng inyong charter. So,
Naayos lang. Para
wala,
walang mali.
wala na pong problema, wala nang issue on your qualification as a component city. Yun lang po sa number 7 talaga, yung for police purposes, and then we mentioned the jurisdiction of the city to be coextensive with its territorial jurisdiction, but extending it to its water supply. And then Your Honor, our sponsor mentioned the Section 458, but it is not of the local government code. But it is about the powers of the Sangguniang Panglungsod, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President, where the City Council can approve ordinances to establish their water supply and then extend the coverage of their ordinances over the territory. So, is this sufficient legal basis, Mr. President, that for us to also use this for police purposes, Mr. President?
Your Honor, the very last city the municipality that was converted into a city was Calaca in Batangas, no? Through RA 11544, dated May 26, 2020, it had the same provision, Your Honor, and plebiscite.
Yes, oo nga. Kaya nga, we also looked at the other laws, ganito rin eh. Pero what's the rationale? I mean, we are going into the rationale now, sir. Pero ganito na lang kasi I think the sponsor plans to pass this today because you are pass on second reading pala today because you are operating on a timeline which I think you need to have the plebiscite in February of
target.
2020,
Yes, Your Honor, Madam
2023. So let me just point out our observations, Mr. President, for His Honor and his staff's consideration. Paki-check na lang how to
Madam President, with the permission of the two gentlemen, if I may interject.
Yes, yes, sir.
I was
Senator Tolentino's
the author of the Calaca Bill, Cityhood Bill, and if the good gentleman from Cagayan de Oro can repeat the exact perceived to be questionable provision, so I can refresh my memory, Your Honor. What was that about the waters? That was
Can I just show the
Yes.
the provision to the good senator, section 7. Nakita ba? Tama.
Yes, sir. I recall, Mr. President, with the permission of the good gentleman, I recall, Mr. President, that one of the reasons for the inclusion of this provision is the recognition of water as a public good. And water really would be a precious resource, not just as we speak, but in the years ahead. And considering that water is not just captured in one place, but would continuously flow, there is a notion that it should likewise be protected as a city resource. And there is the concept of bulk water supply, Mr. President. There are existing practices wherein enterprising individuals would sell water coming from an LGU and sell it to another LGU to the consternation of the residents of the source. So one of the reasons, Mr. President, is probably to hindi naman sa pagdadamot, to preserve really the water emanating from an LGU to be used by the said LGU, considering that it is a precious resource. This is probably the reason why for police purposes, and I'm quoting the Kalaka or even the present bill, the jurisdiction of the city shall be coextensive with the territorial jurisdiction, and for the purpose of protecting and ensuring the purity of water supply of the city, such police jurisdiction shall extend over all the territory within the drainage areas. So considering that Carmona has several rivers and streams, this is probably the reason for this, for environmental protection as well, Mr. President. I hope I have given some inputs. I was the Kalaka author, Mr. President, just for the record.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino, for citing those. In fact, that's very welcome because you're the author of the last city that was the last municipal that's converted the city.
Well, anyway, Mr. President, ito po sa Calacca, Section 7, Jurisdiction of the City, ganito pagkasulat. Yung umpisa na lang po ang babasahin ko. The jurisdiction of the city, comma, for police purposes only, comma, then shall tuloy-tuloy. Ito sa atin naman ngayon, Section 7, for police purposes, comma, the jurisdiction of the city shall be, etc. Well, anyway, I'll just point this out. If we can if you can style it better, Section 7. And then I'll try my best. Daanan ko na lang, Mr. President, yung observations ko just for the consumption of our sponsor, and I will just consideration also, kayo na pong bahala if you will act on this. Section 8, city officials. There is no building official as required under Section 301 of the PD 1906. And then, okay, tuloy na lang, sir. Mr. President, I will not,
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
I will not require a response na lang. Pero,
No, but we will take note of all
Yes,
your
yes, take note.
observations
Apo.
and we will include it in the amendments, Your Honor.
because I think if we need to process our inputs, you will also consume time, Mr. President. And then please take a look at Section 9, Paragraph C, Subparagraph 3, 6, or VI. Ano? So Section 9C3 VI. And because of that provision, can we interpret this to mean or to make the city mayor liable if there are informal settlers within the city? Okay, so revisit na lang po natin yung wording ng section, baka it might be interpreted that way. Section 10 on the city vice mayor, there is no prohibition for 3-year for the three term limits, no? 3-term. Okay. There is no mention of the 3-term limit. Unlike in the provision for the city mayor. Ito po ba'y sinadya or nalimutan or whatever? Kasi ano bang interpretation po natin? Si municipal mayor ba ay once maging component city at city mayor na, pwede po ba siyang panibagong 3 terms po ba yon? So,
Your Honor, Mr. President, Madam President, we can add this, but it is already stipulated in the local government code. But
that's correct. Pero kaya nga, we took the effort to state it sa city mayor provision, and we did not take the effort to state it in the city vice mayor provision. So, I mean,
Yes, we will just add.
baka, I mean, so we can delete them altogether from the law because subject to the local government code, or restate the rule pero consistently, Mr. President. Ganun na lang po.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ganun na lang po. And then Section 23 on disqualifications for city elective officials, subparagraph D mentions the dual citizens are prohibited from running. Please just double check the recent case of Ghana Karait versus Comelec dated August 2022, where the Supreme Court made a distinction between those dual citizens who are by naturalization from those citizens who are dual citizens by birth, who are also therefore natural born citizens. So baka kailangan po natin, we need to put some qualifier because of a recent Supreme Court decision. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And then, yes,
Correct, Your Honor.
on Section 24, anong page ito 24? So, page 26 of our bill, meron lang pong, ay, ano sabi ko? Page ano? Okay, Section 24, which is, ang heading po niya, permanent vacancy in the offices of the city mayor and the city vice mayor. Meron po biglang subparagraph B, na ang sabi, if a permanent vacancy occurs in the office of the punong barangay. Hindi na po namin maintindihan paano, bakit na lalihis yung usapan sa punong barangay, Mr. President.
Your Honor, Madam President, we'll just amend accordingly.
Kaya nga, unfortunately, galing to template, chinek namin yung mga pass laws, nandun din. It makes no sense. Okay, at least we took note of that. Our version should become the template, Mr. President.
That is correct. When the bill is refined because of your
You-
interventions coming from a top notch, of
yung-
course, this will be the template next time.
Yung buong pasa paragraph B, because pero ang danger nun, kahit i-retain nyo yan, meron pa rin nag-shift pa rin from Sangguniang Barangay to Sangguniang Panglungsod. Within subparagraph B, nag-shift yung konsepto po, line 25 po of page 26. And then, last na po, nakita nyo. Siya lang ba sa assistant ang may ganung wording? On the matter of the assistant city treasurer, Mr. President, section 29, just a clarification na the word use is may, subparagraph A states that the assistant city treasurer may be appointed by the secretary of the Department of Finance from a list of at least 3 ranking eligible recommendees of the city mayor. Just to be clear about the intent of the law, do we intend the position of assistant city treasurer to be mandatory or optional or permissive, Mr. President?
Your Honor, Madam President, the city treasurer is usually appointed by the Department of Finance, by the secretary, but the assistant treasurer position is should be optional, Your Honor.
Optional. That's the intent of our law. Hindi
correct.
hindi ko na po i-contest yun kasi ano na yan, wisdom or policy na lang po yan. Yeah, Mr. President, yan na lang po inabot ng powers ko. I mean, hindi ko na po ma-review yung 61-page charter, pero
But
ganun na lang siguro. At any rate, we will be taking time to amend it. Kung may mahanap na lang po tayo in the process subject to styling na lang. Basta as far as the substance of the bill is concerned, which will convert the municipality of Carmona, Cavite into a component city of the province of Cavite, there is no issue on the substance of the bill. So, congratulations sa ating city officials and to our sponsor, and we put a number to the benefit in terms of national tax allotment, 514 million immediately. Plus, of course, the powers now of the city council, di ba? Andun na sa local government code. Yes, this is of course subject to a plebiscite. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Sponsor?
Yes, that is correct. Around February,
So
they're
that-
targeting. That's why hopefully if we can pass it through second reading tonight and hopefully third reading next week, then the plebiscite will be held on February, Your Honor.
So congratulations and good luck in the plebiscite. Involve the people, inform the people, and let the people decide. We accept the will of the people. So congratulations to our sponsor. At talaga naman deserving po ang soon to be the city of Carmona. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Minority Leader.
To our minority leader and distinguished sponsor. Madam President, there being no member who wish to interpellate and ask any more questions on this particular measure, I move that we close the period of interpellations. So moved.
No objection. Period of interpellations is closed. I was just wondering, where is Mayor Loyola and Congressman Loyola?
They were here yesterday,
Okay.
Madam President.
And we have the local officials.
The local officials are all here.
Okay, thank you.
Tabang na. I move for the previous question, Madam President.
The interpellations are terminated now.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, can I move for a minute suspension, Madam President?
Session suspended.